Hello, everybody, and welcome to Right Here, Right Now, live Buffalo football talk presented by Forefathers Organics. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, alongside my co-host, Ajay Cybulski, here for the Batavia Daily and Livingston County News. Each week, we'll discuss Buffalo's favorite football team, along with all the comings and goings from Orchard Park, thanks to our friends at Forefathers Organics in Dansville.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, a lot of news and notes here from One Bills Drive this week. A lot of extraneous topics to talk about as well. We're about to get into it all right here, right now. How you doing, my friend? Haven't seen you in a few days. How you been?
Good, man. I took a nice 3-mile walk today around the block. Got myself a can of Diet Coke, which is an interesting move.
Wow.
I went to my local Crosby's and there was a can of Diet Coke. My girlfriend's a big Diet Coke fan, so it ended up she'll probably be sending me over there quite a bit now that she knows there's canned Diet Coke. But yeah, doing good, doing well. Did some work early this morning, got it out of the way. I was like, man, I want to do some work today, and I'm like, well, let's get it done early and get it in there and get it all taken care of. So now I'm looking forward to discussing a lot of news surrounding One Bills Drive right here, right now, and looking forward to an eventful show. I think we got a lot to cover today.
Bruce Nolan is always making the joke how Sean McDermott's late night snack is a bowl of Raisin Bran. AJ's snack is a nice cold can of Diet Coke from the gas station. Now,
Yes.
if you're wondering how my day started, AJ, there's construction going on in the building next to my apartment building, and there's been a few times since it started this summer that they've started a little bit early. Now, noise ordinance in Batavia is 7 a.m., so they are permitted to start at 7 a.m., but there's been a few days where they've really been hammering into the side wall at about 7:10-ish in the morning. So that's how my morning began today. A sudden wake-up call, but it did get me going a little bit earlier than I'm intend to on these days, and that allowed me to get some work in this morning as well. So look at us, AJ, really jet-setting our way into the weekend. We are two responsible human beings.
Yes, very responsible. We got a game Friday, game Saturday, Bills game Sunday. So we're booting up and getting ready for an eventful weekend full of football, and then some other probably things in there as well. But looking forward to a fun weekend of some good quality football in Section 5, and obviously the Bills-Texans matchup coming Sunday.
Right. All right, let's get right into it. Some updates from the practice field today on Thursday. A day after missing practice on Wednesday, Bills left tackle Deion Dawkins returned to the field at One Bills Drive. Didn't appear to be hampered at all by that hamstring injury, although during the media viewing portion, we don't really get to see him go through that strenuous activity. So it still remains to be seen if he is dealing with any lingering effects from that hamstring, but good to see him out there on Thursday, obviously trending toward playing on Sunday. He was injured during that game against the Ravens, never came out of the game, but missed practice on Wednesday and now back on Thursday. A good sign for Deion Dawkins.
Yeah, Deion, that's huge for the Bills and what they want to do offensively in the run game and the pass game. He's very good in space. He's put together, again, a really good season. A lot of concern from Bills fans yesterday with the injury to the hamstring, and rightfully so. He's a key player on this offensive line, kind of the cornerstone of that offensive line for many years now. So losing him in any sort of fashion, especially a game like this against the AFC rival that you're thinking you might compete with toward the end of the season, it's good to see him out there today, and definitely a good sign that he's trending up toward, playing Sunday. And I think that was just like John Robert here says in the comments, just being cautious with him, giving him that extra day of rest. He's a veteran in this system, so just kind of
and while we love John Robert, we need more people to comment, more people interested in the show. We have good viewership every week. More comments from the people. X, Facebook, YouTube. We need more comments.
Yes, we love interaction. We'll kind of we kind of know like what we're going to talk about, right? But it's fun when the viewer kind of dictates where we're going to go next, or if they have questions and how we kind of our honest thoughts on it. Because some things we won't be able to prepare for if you got a good question. So spring it on us, and we'll try to answer it the best we can.
Right, and also be sure to like, share, and subscribe this pod. I think we had a few more likes than normal on our last couple, so be sure to hit that like button, share it. It's available on the Daily News YouTube channel. Also, wherever you get your podcasts on the audio side. More updates from the practice field. Khalil Shakir and Austin Johnson both missed practice for a second consecutive day. Shakir now trending toward missing Sunday's game with that ankle injury. He sustained it against the Ravens, played through it, but a lot of times when the adrenaline wears off, maybe he got a pain shot during the game, something along those lines. Once that wears off and the swelling can go up, you never know how long it's going to take a player to recover from that. So Shakir on the mend and Austin Johnson on the mend for the second consecutive day.
Yeah, I think that's big news for Khalil Shakir. And JG asks here in the comments on Twitter, who is elevated if Shakir is out? Samuel playing the slot more. I'd assume that Samuel kind of takes that Khalil Shakir role. He only has 8 catches for 48 yards this season, Alex. And I touched on it last week after the Ravens loss. So kind of a silver lining in there is the absence of Curtis Samuel in this offense and what they've been able to get out of him. He's been used as a gadget player. You know, the trick play obviously comes to mind with the pitch. But other than that, you're not going to get a lot out of a gadget guy if he's not producing in the offense. And with the success he had with Joe Brady, and kind of the narrative was he's played with underwhelming quarterbacks in his career. Now he's paired with Josh Allen, and we've yet to see really anything happen. So this is definitely a big Curtis Samuel game in my mind. I could potentially see a KJ Hamler being elevated to the 53-man roster just because of his, again, kind of his gadget ability, his speed, ability to line up all over the field. But I think they'd elevate Hamler if Shakir was out. And again, I think we need to see more from Samuel, and he would line up in that primary slot role. And again, they need to get him the ball because they paid him a lot of money, and they need to see if he's capable of becoming an important player in this offense.
Yeah, Shakir would be, obviously, goes without being said, key loss this Sunday if he is to miss the game. It was discussed, and we will get to more of this later, with Dalton Kincaid, his slow start to the season, and Joe Marino of the Locked On Bills podcast uses the term gravity. A lot of gravity from opposing defenses going toward Kincaid's way, and that's really led to a slow start for him, relatively slow start. And if Shakir's out in this game, I think you're going to see even more gravity push Kincaid's way, and that could really hamper the Bills' ability to get the tight end involved. And totally agree with JG. Shakir being active, holding out hope, definitely our best option, or the Bills' best option in the passing game, and he would be a critical loss if he is to miss this Sunday's game. I did not see Taylor Rapp out there during the media viewing portion of Thursday's session. He was out there during the media viewing portion on Wednesday going through light aerobic exercises. That seemed to be a positive sign for him as he works through the concussion protocol. But no sign from him today. That isn't necessarily a bad sign, but I did not see him out there during the media viewing portion. If he's to miss Sunday's game, I think you're going to see Mike Edwards active, as he's been inactive in place of the rookie Cole Bishop. And I think you might even see Mike Edwards get the start rather than Cole Bishop. I think they'd rather have Bishop in a reserve role and have Edwards, the veteran, in there as a starter alongside Damar Hamlin. Your opinion on the best course of action if Rapp is to miss on Sunday?
Yeah, call me crazy, but the Damar Hamlin, his play has been all right. I think last week was really subpar. He got lost in rushing lanes and was just underwhelming in coverage and didn't really seem that physical at the point of attack when he had opportunities. I would be interested in they're not going to do it because that's not what the Bills do. But I would love to see a Cole Bishop, Mike Edwards kind of thing going on. Now the problem is they play have similar skill sets, so I don't know how the Bills will manage that, and I don't know if they had the time to implement that. But I think they'll go the safe route. I'm with you. I think they'll go with Cole Bishop and potentially Damar Hamlin or maybe even a Mike Edwards. Like you mentioned, I'm sure he'll be active this week with the Taylor Rapp injury and him being out. But I think maybe you'll see a lot of different looks, Alex. Try to confuse them. JG here in the comments says he would like to see Mike Edwards and Bishop playing. I'm with you. I think I want to see what Mike Edwards has. I like what I've seen from Damar Hamlin. He's made a couple plays, but I'd also like to see what you get out of Mike Edwards, a guy you brought in to potentially start for this team in the offseason, and he's been hurt in training camp and hasn't really got much time. But I'm interested, Alex. I'm worried about the safety position, one of my biggest concerns, and I'm really interested to see how that plays out if they do trust Cole Bishop as much as I think they do at this point, and also what they do with Mike Edwards in terms of that kind of rotation with Damar Hamlin in there.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying with Hamlin. Certainly not his best game in week 4, but I'm not sure if Cole Bishop is the answer. I think he looked really lost out there in terms of his first time inserted into a down-by-down role and got lost in coverage a couple times. The tackle near the goal line on Derrick Henry near the end of the game seemed to shy away from that hit a little bit. And these are growing pains that come with a rookie. I'm just not sure he's quite ready to be inserted as a starter this week, especially against a quality team such as the Texans. And This leads us to our next topic. We'll get back to the updates from the practice field a little bit later. Terrell Bernard, Taron Johnson, whether or not we feel they're trending toward playing. But let's just hop right into the Davante Adams conversation, AJ. And a lot of the talk about whether or not the Bills should trade for Davante Adams also coincides with whether or not the Bills should consider trading for a safety. You've heard Arizona maybe putting Budda Baker up for grabs for opposing teams. That would be quite the boon for the Bills if they were able to trade for him. I think that's kind of a pipe dream. And even the Davante Adams situation could be a little bit of a pipe dream. I think in order to make it work, it has to be a perfect situation for the Bills. Obviously, they have no money to spend really under the cap, so it's going to have to be the Raiders eating that money and the Bills trading that draft capital to the Raiders in hopes of pushing the negotiations over the edge there with them. But if you look at it, the Bills have 8 picks in the upcoming draft, could be 10 with the compensatory pick formula. They have 2 second-rounders. I think that's what it's going to take if you're going to pry Davante Adams from the Las Vegas Raiders, maybe even more than that, maybe a 2 and then a mid-round pick as well. If you're me for a 1-year rental of Davante Adams with the way the NFL landscape is shaping out this season, if you ask me in the past if I would be interested in this for the Bills, I would probably say no. But knowing what the Bills are dealing with at wide receiver and knowing how the rest of the NFL landscape is shaping up, I think this could be the year where Brandon Beane says, let's go for it. Let's push our chips into the table. Let's get rid of a second-round pick for a proven commodity. Even if it is just a 1-year rental, bring him in here, see what he can do, see if he can elevate the talent around him, and most of all, see if he can help elevate this team alongside Josh Allen. I'm not sure it will happen. I think it would take moving heaven and earth for it to happen. And with that being said, Mark Davis isn't really eager to eat money for the Las Vegas Raiders. So I think there's a lot that has to happen for this to go forward. But I think this is definitely something the Bills should dip their toe in the water. And it appears as if they already have with reports that they've made calls to Las Vegas.
Yeah, so I'm kind of against the Davante Adams idea because, again, I look at this right now. If they traded for him,
and thank you, Mafia members, for the comment. Sorry about that, AJ.
Yes, if they take on 13.5, or if they trade for Davante Adams right now, it's $13.5 million. So obviously the Bills can't afford that. The Raiders would have to eat all that salary basically to make it a vet minimum deal of like $1.25 million.
Now that number does go down by about $1 million each week, so it becomes probably more enticing for the Raiders as time goes on.
Right. So, and that's exactly what I was going to get to. At the deadline, it drops to $8.5 million. So less money that the Raiders would have to eat. And then in 2025, 2026, which are both non-guaranteed years, it'd be around 36 million. I'll say a little over 36 million to keep Adams on the team. So it would be a 1-year rental. The problem in my mind is this: the Bills are undergoing a transitional phase, right? And you can say, they've exceeded expectations so far through 4 weeks. They're 3-1. Brandon Beane has built this team right around kind of the everybody eats mentality. Now, going and getting a 32-year-old Davante Adams, who, I mean, his stats, he really hasn't declined. He had, let me pull it up really quick. He had 1,144 yards last year and 8 touchdowns on 103 catches. And the previous year had 100 catches for 1,516 yards and 14 touchdowns. And then his average depth of target stayed relatively the same, a little bit lower this year, but has only appeared in 3 games. It's 9.6 this year. The previous 2, respectively, it's been 10.9 and 11.8. So he was targeted a little bit more down the field. And then his yards after the catch ability, 493 in 2022, a severe drop-off last year with 336. So what can he really bring after the catch? Do they need a guy that can win in a phone booth? Do they not trust the rookie they drafted to be able to kind of win those contested catch situations? I just think for me, for a Bills team that's building for the future, giving up future assets for a 1-year rental for a team that I don't know what their mindset is. If the Bills think they can win the Super Bowl, I think with Josh Allen, you always have a chance. But I just think it's not wise to give up future assets right now for a 32-year-old guy that would still cost a lot of money. And you're going to be competing against the New York Jets that really want him, right? Like they're probably going to match every offer you put their way to the Raiders, and they have the cap space to do it. So if the Jets are willing to give more, and plus the Raiders don't have to eat any cap, then it makes much more sense for the Raiders to make a deal with New York or these other teams that are in the mix. So for that reason, I'd probably be more in on like an Amari Cooper type, a guy that's 18 months younger, much cheaper, much more affordable. He still has the pop after the catch. And like comedian Mo Brown says in here, JG says in the comments here as well, I think trading for an Amari Cooper makes a lot more sense than Davante Adams, just because money-wise, age, And overall, I think just if you trade for Davante Adams, you're going to have to give up a lot of future assets. And, I don't know if that really puts you over the hump, and I think they do believe they can win with this group.
Right. Another thing you have to take into account, maybe the Bills throw their hat into the ring for this just to drive up the price for the Jets and some of these other teams that are interested in Davante Adams' services. That's certainly another element to this conversation that Brandon Beane, I'm sure, is taking into account. Let's take it a little bit further. Is there anybody else beside Amari Cooper that you're looking at? I know he's been the hot name, maybe a DeAndre Hopkins, getting him from Tennessee. You don't appear to be very.
I wasn't fond of that 2 years ago. I wasn't fond of that 2 years. Thank God they didn't, right? Because look at what he's done in Tennessee. I mean, it's just kind of been he just hasn't found his groove. And you can blame quarterback play, but he's just not the same player. And I'm glad that did not kind of that did not happen. So that definitely was a good thing. As I think Mark Gahn from the Buffalo News walks in the background here. Got a little distracted.
He was giving us a stink eye. I thought he was going to come up on me, and then we got Andy Young over here creeping up on me. Andy Young, probably the best shoe game on the beat. I'm not going to lie. Different pair every day, it seems. Always Nikes. Just an absolutely great guy as well. His personality matches the fantastic shoe game. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. We'll thank our quick sponsor, Forefathers Organics in Dansville. At Forefathers Organics, their mission is to liberate, educate, and innovate with the highest quality CBD and hemp-derived products for your mind, body, and soul so you can live happy and free. Visit them at 87 Franklin Street in Dansville, online at forefathersorganics.com, or call them at 585-335-2223 to learn more about the products they offer. We've gotten a lot of great feedback with our sponsor so far, AJ. We've gotten remarks like it's the best sponsor in the Bills podcasting game. Much more high praise for Forefathers Organics, and we can't thank them enough for sponsoring the podcast. I think we have to get maybe Matt Collins. I'm not sure if he's a CBD user. I don't want to put that on him, but he seems like a big liberate your mind, body, and soul guy. I think he'd be perfect for that ad read.
Yeah, he would do it with no shoes too. I mean, who knows what he would do? He's a very I told my dad the other day, I'm like, Dad, like because me and my dad aren't very hands-on people. I'm like, Dad, we can watch some Matt Collins content, dude, and like just become so much better people holistically and figure things out and actually like learn some hands-on things, because again, we're not the smartest tools in the shed when it comes to making and creating stuff. And that's why I'm talking sports and not doing like construction or anything like that. So it's not my thing. But yeah, Matt Collins seems to have it all figured out, and he seems like a very a guy that just has it all together in terms of he knows a lot about a lot of things, and it's a pretty cool thing. And hopefully his play on the field can continue to progress, because I think he could be an important asset for this team in the pass game and the run blocking game.
All right, so that does it for the Davante Adams conversation. I think we pretty much covered it as well as we can. I think like I said, it's a pipe dream for the Bills. I'm not sure it's likely to happen. It's something I would explore if I were the Bills, but not something I would necessarily how do I say this? Mortgage the future for. If it's a second and a late round pick, I think that's about as high as I would go. But moving on to the next topic before we circle back to some more practice updates. Von Miller suspended for 4 games. He'll miss the Texans game, the Jets game, the Titans game, and the Seahawks game. And it has been reported by Adam Schefter that it was indeed directly related to that arrest for assault against a pregnant woman of his girlfriend last November. So that has been determined. The source of the suspension, it did take quite a while for the NFL to reach their decision, but that is the case with the NFL fairly often. They don't need a conviction in order to suspend. They do their own investigation and they reach their own findings, and we've seen that in the past where players have not been charged with a crime or received a sentence or anything like that and have still been suspended. So obviously whatever they found in their investigation, it went against their personal conduct policy, and now Miller out for 4 games. He'll be unpaid for those 4 games, but a lot of that restructuring he did in the offseason seems to have saved him a lot of money.
Yeah, I think it's a blow for the Bills. And speaking of on the field stuff, I don't really have much of an opinion on how kind of the situation handled. I think the NFL obviously did the right thing. I trust that they do their own investigations and deem the right suspension for the player and what happened or what occurred. So, I think that is what it is. Take it whatever it is with that. But in terms of the on the field stuff, it's tough, Alex, because I think like the last preseason game with Greg Rousseau, and we saw what he could do, right? And he really had a great first drive in that final preseason game. Then the first game of the regular season has those 3 sacks, but since then he's been relatively quiet. I was like, after Ed Oliver blew up that play on that 4th down and got the sack, and AJ Epinesa was making some plays, and Von Miller 3 sacks in 3 games, I was like, man, I'm really satisfied with this defensive line. But then following this Ravens game against Lamar Jackson, I don't feel satisfied again with this defensive line. And now you lose a piece in Von Miller that really was your key pass rusher who only saw 9 snaps, if I'm correct, in the Baltimore game. So I think this Bills defensive line is still a big question mark. I think Daquan Jones has been a shell of himself so far. I think Ed Oliver gets swallowed up in the run game. And when you go against those physical teams, can he win at that level to kind of stuff that run? I don't know if he's able to. And it just feels like every time, Alex, there's a big game or maybe not even a big game, but you go against the premier quarterbacks like a Mahomes, a Lamar Jackson, a Joe Burrow in the AFC, a CJ Stroud. And it'll be interesting to see how the Bills fare this Sunday. But I just don't feel like this defensive line has taken it to that next level. Sure, they go on stretches. Greg Rousseau gets hot, right? He'll have a 3-sack game here and there. And Oliver will make some nice plays, but he's inconsistent. When it's been in the big moment with his defensive line year in, year out, there is yet to be that moment where I feel like, wow, this defensive line or this one player on the defensive line really made a game-changing play against the top quarterback in the AFC. And that's just how I feel. There's been moments where, Von Miller blew up that game where Taron Johnson had the pick to seal the game against the Chiefs a couple of years back. But other than that, there hasn't really been a guy along this defensive line to really make an impact play against the cream of the crop of the quarterbacks in the AFC. And if that does not happen, it's hard to beat those quarterbacks when you're not getting pressure. So that's just how I feel. I was high on the defensive line. It was still my biggest concern going in. I was high on it after 3 weeks, but you play against Lamar Jackson, the best quarterback you've played all year, and you perform like that, it still gives me a lot of concern.
And Von Miller was really their most productive pass rusher through the first 4 weeks. Like you said, he only played 9 snaps against the Ravens, but still tied for the team lead in sacks with 3, leading the team in QB hits with 4, and also leading the team in pass rush win rate with a 20% win rate. So this isn't like you're losing last year's Von Miller. If you were to lose Von Miller from 2023, you wouldn't be concerned with that. But the way he's produced so far this year, that is certainly a loss that's going to hurt this defensive line, one that was exposed in a sense against the Baltimore Ravens, just unable to produce that 4-man pressure, as you said, and Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones at the center of it all. Not a single tackle in that game against the Ravens. And back to our practice updates, Ed Oliver being stretched out on the field by athletic trainers, working on his lower left leg. He did participate in full during the media viewing portion, but there was a moment there during a break where he was down on the field getting worked on. So maybe something to watch there. Daquan Jones missed today, but it was a veteran rest day. You're missing Austin Johnson. You bring in the free agent Zion Logue. So some moving pieces up there, and you're going to have to figure out somebody else to step to the forefront. I think it's got to be Greg Rousseau. I think you mentioned it a second ago. I was looking down at my phone, so I didn't catch your entire breakdown there. I was looking at somebody commenting on our sponsor, which I'll get to in a second. But you mentioned it. I think it's got to be Greg Rousseau, and it's his consistency. He's able to produce these big games, but game to game, you need more from him and more of an impact on each and every individual game rather than disappearing at times like Rousseau does. And Bill's chick commented on our stream. I don't think she follows me, perhaps. That's why we didn't see the comment pop up, AJ. Do you know anything about that? Is that why I didn't see it? I think that is why. She asked, who is that sponsor? Are you guys selling drugs? No, we are indeed not selling drugs. We are promoting a CBD store, which can be used to liberate your mind, body, and soul, but also be used for pain management, help with sleep, help with digestion, many uses for CBD now in the year 2024. It's not 1970 anymore. So feel free to liberate your mind, body, and soul and try something you haven't. It might just help you out from Forefathers Organics. So, AJ, anything to add to what I said there? Ed Oliver getting stretched out. Daquan Jones misses with a veteran rest day. I think you touched on a lot of it, though, with your talk about the defensive line.
Yeah, I just think, again, like I go back to that Chiefs game, right, at home in the playoffs last year where Daquan Jones and Oliver didn't even record a pressure or anything against, so it's just, again, the concern with me with this Bills defensive line, I think they're a fine unit, but they need to make it work against these premier teams and these premier quarterbacks and in these premier offensive lines and start winning, because that's where the Bills lose. When they lose, it's because they lose in the trenches, and you're not gonna get past these teams, even a Bengals team, right? Like, they have a recipe to beat the Bills team. They have, still to this day, they have a solid running game. They have Chase Brown, Zach Moss. They can run the ball. So there's a few teams in the AFC that I think the Bills, the defensive line needs to perform. And it's a lot of pressure on this defensive line with playing nickel all the time, only having two linebackers who are undersized, right? So it's a lot more pressure on a defensive line. But again, I feel like the biggest need for this team has been that star pass rusher. And again, if you trade those future assets or you take on more cap for trading for a Davante Adams or one of these guys, will you be able to make that big splash in free agency next year or the years to come to kind of open that second window for Josh Allen? I think the goal is you got to kind of be patient. And I know that's tough to say to fans that have went through 4 years of, falling short every single season. But at the same time, this was a transitional phase. They let a lot of guys go, a lot of prominent names go. And I think it's building for the future while keeping in mind that they can still compete this year. And I think, that's kind of where it's at right now. I think be patient and, allow that 4 or 5 year window to open, because if you go all in 2024, then all the fans are going to be upset in 2025, 2026 when there's no cap, space and you can't really do anything. So that's kind of the battle you're playing right now.
One correction I have to make. It hasn't been 4 years the Bills have been falling short. It's been about 60 to 70 years that the Bills have been falling short. So certainly tough for some fans to remain patient. Last item of note, AJ, Terrell Bernard and Taron Johnson practicing once again, but Taron Johnson remains in the red non-contact jersey, and he really avoided all impact today. He did a little bit more during positional drills than we saw from him on Wednesday, but still avoiding any impact to that injured forearm. I would say Terrell Bernard is almost a shoo-in to play on Sunday. I would say Taron Johnson almost a shoo-in not to play on Sunday.
Yeah, Terrell Bernard will be a big help, right, for the middle of the field. Let's see what he can do. How I would say, how comfortable is he going to be? How confident is he going to be in that pack? Thank God it was a strain, because he would still be on the sidelines right now if that was a total tear of the pack. So it's good to see him back. He's a huge addition. He's the captain of the defense. So that is a huge addition to what they want to do. And I'm intrigued with how he plays and how he looks and how he goes up against this, vaunted, Dalton Schultz over the middle, Tank Dell over the middle. Nico Collins is the best player on that team. And obviously Stephon Diggs, who does also a lot of his work over the middle. This Texans team is a pretty good, actually a very elite offensive team in terms of weapons and that. So I think with Joe Mixon, we'll see if he returns. I don't believe he practiced today. So he
did not. He nor Dameon Pierce practiced today for the second straight day.
And I've watched the Texans the last couple of weeks, and their run game with Cam Akers is just atrocious. So I think if Joe Mixon is out, that's going to be almost, I think, more of a blow to the Texans than I think missing Taron Johnson in this game. And I know, again, he's important, but I think the addition of Terrell Bernard really helped that. And I think if the Texans roll in with Cam Akers, I think they might have trouble establishing the run game, which will really benefit this Bills defense.
One last item, Josh Allen named AFC Offensive Player of the Month for the month of September. Finished the month 3-1, 69.3% of his passes completed, 814 yards and 7 touchdowns. So Allen also yet to throw an interception. Just a great month for him. And before we get out of here, let us thank our sponsor, Forefathers Organics in Dansville.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, that's going to do it. Another edition here from One Bills Drive. Looking forward to the Bills-Texans matchup on Sunday. We will have a preview show this week. Time ran out on us last week against the Ravens, but we will be back with a pregame show on Sunday before the Bills face off with the Texans. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out.